What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. We got 3 different stories I want to get into today. I want to start with the teacher out of Houston who went viral, crying about the reading and writing level of some of his students. Now, when I first saw the video, I understood why people were concerned. If you have 17 and 18-year-olds getting ready to graduate, and some of them are struggling to read or write or put their thoughts on paper, hell yeah, that's something we need to take seriously. But the more I watched it, the more I kept coming back to one question. If you really saw a problem with your students on the second day of school, why did the internet have to know about it before you sat down and thought about a way to help them?
Leaving high school and going to college, and they couldn't fill in 4 words. 4 words. I literally broke down in the middle of class. This is only day 2. And I have seniors who simply cannot read, and seniors who cannot write. They can reason, they have the ability to defend their reasoning if it's talking to their homeboy, but applying that to a written text, 2 paragraphs, and they couldn't do it. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls are not aware. Let me break it down for you. I graduated with a 2nd bachelor's degree from Berklee College of Music this past summer. As a matter of fact, it was in April is when I graduated. I posted it. You said I lied about it. That's fine. I've also since enrolled in American College of Education. I'm currently working on a master's degree in education. I'm studying for curriculum and instruction. I am currently in my 3rd term at the school, and I am currently 1B and 2As in. Also, quietly over the summer, I did all of the coursework and passed my content exam to become a certified teacher in the state of Texas by the Texas Education Agency. There's 3 parts to being certified. The first is coursework. Finished it months ago. The second is content exam. Passed it months ago. The third piece, getting my field hours. Couldn't get them until school started. I'll have it done. Should be certified in a couple of weeks. I'll show you the certificate when it comes.
I want to be fair, because I'm not saying that man didn't have students in the classroom that were struggling. I'm also not saying that we don't have a real problem with education in this country. My issue is what happened next. You have barely learned these kids' names, and now millions of people are watching you cry about how poorly they read and write. These are high school students with phones, social media, and family who gonna see this damn video. So you know this is coming right back to that school. Now imagine being one of those students. You already know reading is hard for you. Maybe writing embarrasses you. Maybe you have spent years trying to hide how far you are behind. And now the person who is supposed to help you has turned your struggle into a viral conversation. How does that make you trust him more as a teacher? That is the part that bothers me. A teacher is supposed to be somebody a student can fail in front of without feeling like the whole world is gonna find out about it. And then you have somebody who actually taught some of these students for years come out and push back on the way they were being described. She talked about the students who had done advanced work, college level classes, and other high level academic work. Now that don't prove everybody in that school is reading on the level. You can have excellent students and students who need help at the same time. But that's exactly why I wouldn't get to day 2 and start talking like I already understand the whole student body. You don't know who has a learning disability yet? Those are things a teacher is supposed to discover. And that is when the work starts. That shouldn't be where the content starts. I think social media has some people messed up so bad that we don't even know what should be private no more. Every emotion doesn't need an audience, and somebody else's worst moment doesn't automatically need to become your best performing post. If a child is 17 years old and struggling to read, that is already hard enough. I don't need the person who is supposed to teach me getting online acting like he just discovered a lost cause. I need you to teach me. And I think we have to be especially careful when we're talking about black and brown children, because we already know the stereotypes that are out there. People already say inner city black kids don't care about school. The schools are lost and the children are unteachable. So when you get online crying specifically about black and brown children, you got to understand that everybody watching that video is not thinking about how they can help. Some people are going to use it to confirm everything negative they already believed about our kids. And you just handed them the damn video. Now, maybe his heart really was broken. Maybe every tear was real. I can't look inside this man's mind and tell you what his intentions were. But I can question his decision to post that, because intention and impact are two different things. Then when he starts a GoFundMe, of course people are going to look at your ass sideways. You just went viral showing how bad you say these children are doing, and now you asking for money connected to the same story. Whether that was the plan or not, you got to understand why people would question it, especially when you were already a content creator before you ever came in that classroom. And that is why I think this whole story could have been different. Don't show me day 2, show me day 150. If that child couldn't complete one sentence on August 1st, show me what you helped them write by May. If that girl was afraid to read out loud, show me her standing in front of the class months later, reading out loud with confidence. That's the teacher story we want to see. And before we get online embarrassing our own children about where they are, maybe we should give them enough time to show us where they can finish. That's where I'm at with that. Now, let me move to Earn Your Leisure and InvestFest, because this is a completely different situation. But I have a real issue with how this conversation has been handled. And before somebody twists what I'm saying, I don't have a problem with InvestFest going beyond black business. I want to see something created by black men get so big that people from every race and every country want to come and see it. That should be a win. My problem is when people start getting ready to cross over, and suddenly they get funny about the people who put them in position to cross over in the first place.
Some of the dumbest things I've seen online even before the event, somebody was like, we have events like this every single week in Atlanta. And you're an idiot for saying that. You never did it. But I'm not even on the black thing no more. I never was on the black thing. Not a black event. Because I seen somebody else that said that, like, it was white people. Yeah, they're qualified to be there. Like, what do you mean? Like, you think I'm going to cater just to black people just to get torn down by black people? You out of your There's going to be even more white people next year, and Spanish and the Filipinos. Of course, like, I'm done. It's been real. Yeah. For what? The only thing you're going to do is criticize it and tear it down and not pay and want to get it for free anyway.
Rashad, if black people built this, we can't find a backs on black people. People all inclusive.
People put labels on you that you yourself didn't put on yourself.
Oh,
we never called it the Black Investment Conference.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not a black financial literacy conference. It's a business conference. It's one of the biggest business conferences in the world, because that's how they minimize you also. Oh, this is one of the biggest. This is one of the biggest black finance. No, what are you talking about? It's not a financial literacy conference. It's a business investing conference. It's not a black financial literacy investment community-based organization. No, don't compare it to any, no disrespect. It's not the NAACP community give back charity no, it's not. It's funny when you still living in your mom's house at 35 years old. Joke's on you.
This is where words matter to me. There is a big difference between saying we built something that started with strong support from the black community and everybody is welcome, and then saying this was never really a black thing anyway. Those two things don't hit the same. Let's keep this real about Earn Your Leisure. Who was watching those early interviews about stocks, credit, real estate, entrepreneurship, and generational wealth? Who was sharing those clips? Who was buying those tickets? Who was filling those seats at InvestFest in Atlanta? A whole lot of black people. And that should not be something you try to distance yourself on. That should be something you're proud of. You built a platform that made financial conversations feel accessible to a lot of black people who were not getting that information from traditional finance media. That is part of what made the platform special. So why does expansion have to come with this need to keep reminding people that this is not a black event? We know other people gonna come. Nobody is standing at the front door checking complexions. That is not the point. The point is, don't start talking like the black community was just some random group of customers that just happened to find you. That community helped build a value that other people now want to be a part of. I have watched the same thing happen in music my whole life. Black people support something early, we make it cool, we give it that energy, and then once the rest of the world starts showing up, somebody suddenly doesn't want to be too attached to the people who got them where they at. That is where people get offended. You can be a worldwide artist and still acknowledge that black people are the foundation of your career. And InvestFest can become an international financial festival and still say, this thing grew out of our community. And look how far we took it. Look what we started with us, and now it's so hot that everybody want to come. And there is another part people are reacting to. You can't talk about how much economic impact InvestFest brings to Atlanta, want the city to support the event, and then turn around and sound frustrated with the core people who built your event. You gotta understand that rubs people the wrong way. You want the city, you want the money, you want the attendance. Then when you get mad, you can't talk like the people giving you that support or a burden. That is where you lose people, dog. Now, to his credit, R.I.C.H did come back and say that some of his criticism was painted too broadly, and that people who had supported them from the beginning didn't deserve to get caught up in that. I respect somebody being able to come back and say, look, I was wrong. But the original moment still shows how easy it is to start taking your base for granted once you get big enough. When you are small, you remember everything. You know who bought the first shirt, who watched the first video, who bought the first ticket, and who supported you before a corporate sponsor knew your name. And then you get big and that support starts feeling normal. Now 20,000 people showing up don't feel like a blessing no more. It feels like something that was supposed to happen. That is when people start getting amnesia. And I think black people have to know our power in that equation too. Our support has value. We are quick to make something hot, quick to support somebody we are proud of, and quick to spend money on something that we think represents us. That don't mean we own somebody just because we supported them. But it does mean they need to understand our support is part of the business. So if somebody gets big enough that you don't like how they talk to the people that help build them, you don't have to threaten them or argue all day online. You remember, you get to choose where your money goes. I won't earn your leisure to win. I want InvestFest to get bigger, and I want to see black men build something that turns into a global financial brain. But I want to see them do it without acting like the people who helped build a foundation or something they have to move away from to get to the next level. You don't have to stay small to remember where you came from. And you don't have to stop being proud of your black foundation just because the rest of the world starts walking through the door. You can open the door wider without acting like somebody else built the house. That's my issue with InvestFest. Now, let's get back to this Tupac trial, because Mob James took the stand, and this may have been one of the most interesting witness moments I have ever seen. He walked into that courtroom making it clear that he did not want to help put Keefe D in jail. He didn't want to name people. He didn't want to go back into old street business. And he was basically telling everybody, I didn't come here to snitch. And I'm watching this thinking, he think he playing this perfectly. He thinks he is showing people from his world that even 30 years later, they still can't make him come into court and tell everything he knows.
At the time you lived in Compton, you go back to Compton and you tell us that there was a lot of tension. Can you describe that for us when you went back in terms of what kind of tension we're talking about?
You sure you want me to answer that?
Is it going to be graphic?
No, I ain't gonna. I got ways to word it, but you asking me a question. I don't. And what I explained to them, I don't want to send him to prison.
Sure.
Even though we don't like each other.
Sure.
I don't want to send you to prison. So that's why I'm here where I'm at and the way I am, because I changed my life. I'm raising my grandkids, teaching them never to be like their papa. And here I am explaining to people what I used to be. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that at all. And you asking me questions that can hurt him. And like I told them, I'm trying to avoid to answer the questions that they might look at me and say, something is wrong.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me help you out with this.
Okay.
So these people right here, what they want to know from you is, did you see who shot Tupac?
I told you no.
Correct. So outside of that question, right, the next question I'm asking you is, when you went back to Compton, was it like a Southside Crip that shoots a Pyru Blood, and then a Pyru Blood shoots a Southside Crip? Is that the tension that we're talking about?
Do I answer this?
That's a straightforward question. It's a yes or no answer.
Okay.
Did you see that?
The exact question in that clip doesn't matter as much as what Mob James is showing the jury. He wants everybody to know that he is uncomfortable with being there, and he don't want to be responsible for putting Keefe D away. But there's a problem with trying too hard not to say something. Sometimes you make whatever you trying not to say sound more important. And even while Mob James is resisting, he is still giving the jury information the prosecution needs. He talks about the real beef between the Mob Pyru and the Southside Crips. He makes it clear that this wasn't just some rap music argument. This was real street groups with real history. Then he helps explain how the music business got connected to it. He talks about Bad Boy being connected to Keefe D's side and the Bloods being connected to death row. Now, what has the prosecution been trying to explain since this trial started? They have been trying to show the jury that you cannot understand Tupac's murder by looking at it like two rappers who didn't like each other. There were street relationships around it. And here comes Mob James, somebody who actually lived in that world, confirming that those relationships were real. He can say it mad, he can say it reluctantly, he can say he don't want to talk about it. The jury still heard it, and it helps the prosecution.
My question to you,
Stop.
can you focus on me for a second, sir?
Yeah, I will.
And I apologize. I just want to make sure that we're clear, okay, for these people. In terms of that information, none of those people were there, right?
And what people you be speaking on? The people that was already in the neighborhood, or the people that left Las Vegas that same night Tupac was shot to go home, bear their arms, and go to somebody else's neighborhood
Right.
to look for somebody? They had to pay it back.
So once again, my question to you is that the information that I'm asking about is the people that back home, you're saying were eyewitnesses to this?
How could people back home be eyewitnesses to something that happened in Vegas? No, that's not what I'm saying.
The people that were here in listen to my question, sir. The people that were here in Las Vegas, you're telling me were eyewitnesses to what happened and went back home. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you, the people that was at
Just
662.
answer my question, sir. Yes or no?
I can't
Is it
answer
a yes
that
or no?
without a what you call them. You trying to tell me to say something that you're not going to understand. If you let me explain to you,
No, answer my question.
I'm not answering nothing.
This is where I think his whole plan started backfiring. The more he shows that he don't want to hurt Keefe D, the more he makes it look like he knows something that could hurt Keefe D. Put yourself in that jury box for a second. The defense has been trying to say that Keefe D is just a man who talks too much, exaggerated his importance, and made himself a bigger part of the Tupac story because people would pay him for an interview. Then Mob James takes the stand. This is somebody from the other side of that old street walk. Somebody who actually knows the people and actually lived through the period we're talking about. And instead of treating Keefe like some guy who just made all this shit up, he is sitting there worried about his answers sending Keefe D to prison. That don't make Keefe look irrelevant. If anything, it makes the situation more serious. Then Mob James is basically warning Keefe D's own lawyer that he may not want to keep asking certain questions because the answers could be bad for his client. I don't know how the hell that helps Keefe. If I'm on that jury, I'm thinking, what does this man know that he is so worried about? And that is why street rules don't transfer cleanly into a courtroom. Maybe somebody from that old world sees Mob James and says, Mob James stood tall because he didn't start naming names. But the jury is sitting there scoring who stood tall. They are trying to figure out whether Keefe D helped kill Tupac. So every time you act like the truth would be bad for him, the jury may hear something completely different than the street does. That is why I think his performance backfired. And then there was the contradiction that really stood out to me. Mob James talked about how he changed his life, how he has a family, grandchildren, and he don't want to live by the old street rules no more. I respect that. But if you have really left that life behind, why are you still letting the rules from that life control how you act 30 years later? You can't say, I'm not that person anymore, while being terrified that somebody from your old world might call you a snitch. At some point, you have to decide which life you live in. And in my opinion, all that trying to prove he was still solid did nothing but make his testimony more dramatic and made everybody pay even more attention to what he didn't say.
I don't want to send him to prison.
Sure.
Even though we don't like each other.
Sure.
I don't want to send you to prison. So that's why I'm here where I'm at and where I am. Because I changed my life. I'm raising my grandkids. Teaching them never to be like their papa. And here I am explaining to people what I used to be. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that at all. And you asking me questions that can hurt him. And like I told them, I'm trying to avoid to answer the questions that they might look at me and say, something is wrong.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me help you out with this.
Thank you.
So these people right here, what they want to know from you is, did you see who shot Tupac?
I told you no.
After watching these exchanges, I don't think Mob James walked out of that courtroom having helped Keefe D the way he thought he did. The prosecution needed the jury to understand that there was a real gang rivalry, and Mob James helped establish that. They needed the jury to understand how Bad Boy, Death Row, and people associated with street gangs were all intertwined. Mob James helped explain that. They wanted the jury to understand that what happened in Las Vegas didn't just disappear when everybody went home. Mob James talked about the violence and war that followed them back to Compton. Then you have the defense trying to give the jury other places to look, including old theories involving people with death row. Mob James didn't really help them either. He pushed back on the idea that Reggie Wright Jr. may have been responsible for Tupac's death, because in his view, Tupac was too important to death row to do something like that. So now look at what Mob James gave the prosecution while he was trying so hard to say nothing. He gave them the gang context. He gave them the record label connection. He gave them the aftermath. He pushed back on the alternative theory. And then he spent part of his testimony acting like saying more could help damage the man sitting at the table. If that was supposed to help Keefe D, I don't think it worked. And I don't think Mob James did any of that intentionally. I think he walked into that courtroom saying, I'm not going to be the person that puts this man in prison. And I'm not going to let people watching me think I came here to tell. But that is a mistake. The prosecution didn't need him to name names. They needed his piece of the story. And he gave them that. A trial like this gets built one piece at a time. One person talks about what happened at the MGM. Somebody else talks about the shooting. Another person explains the gang structure. And somebody else explains what happened in Compton after everything happened. And then in the middle of all that, you have Keefe D's own words and his book. Mob James didn't have to walk into that courtroom and hand the prosecution their whole case. He only had to give them the part that he actually knew. And in my opinion, that's what he did. That is what makes his testimony so interesting to me. I think he was so busy trying to make sure everybody didn't think he was cooperating that he never realized how much information he was still giving them. He thought if he didn't say a name, then he was giving them nothing. The jury may see that completely different. And Keefe D had to sit there and watch the whole thing. A man who doesn't like him, who says he don't want to send him to prison, and who is actively trying not to help the government, yet the prosecution still walked away with things they can use. Now that don't make Keefe D guilty. Mob James didn't say he saw Keefe D shoot Pop, and his attitude by itself don't prove the case. But as far as this particular witness goes, I think all that hostile witness energy did the opposite of what Mob James thought he was doing. And he may have walked out of that courtroom feeling like he protected his street reputation. The question that matters is whether he protected Keefe D. From what I watched, I don't think he did. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Established Rich. I'll be back with another one. Hey.